Hello, dear starshines. Christina here. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. I'll give everybody a minute to catch on, to hop aboard. In the meantime, for those of you who are new, my name is Christina, and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. We have abilities that our larger human family don't necessarily embrace, and these abilities heavily impact our perceptions and experiences of the world, of this world, in very unique ways. So I am here to do, to the best of my ability, to provide a liberated perspective to those unique challenges that we face on a regular basis. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you guys here. There's a few things that I want to talk about. As you guys can see, I'm in my car, so I'm totally, I'm in the middle of going from one state to the other, and I'm going to be on the road for a while, and I'm taking the time out from my drive so I can sit and chat with you guys about a few things. One is I want to talk about when ideas that become assumptions and maybe beliefs, when those, even if it's an idea that's a truth, when things like that can hold us back or get in the way of our authentic expression. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about why I say so often that something is so until it's not. So I want to talk more about that, because that's kind of, for me, that is the theme of the new paradigm. As we go into these new paradigm energies, things that have been so in my life for decades upon decades, all of a sudden just aren't. And for me personally, it's really turned into a quite liberating experience to recognize when things just all of a sudden aren't so or aren't applicable anymore. Okay. And then let's see. And I also want to talk about, I want to talk about a certain, event that happened and how this can potentially be what really wakes up humanity, that there is a massive control system in place. And that thing that I'm talking about is the raid that the you-know-what did to the you-know-who. Is really quite entertaining. And I've super enjoyed listening to the different sides and the spins that they're doing and the little games starting to unfold. It's like, you could tell they're all strategizing, but really this is going to result in something else for me. For me, I see something else coming from this, and I want to talk about that. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're here, go ahead, say hi. Let me know that you're around. Hello, dear sister Polly. I just saw a message drop in here from New York. And then Louise, good to see you. It's been a little while. I hope you're okay. All's well with you. And dear sister Sherry from Oregon, welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, my dear sisters are here. So glad to have you guys. All right. So I'm going to, so there's a conversation that was started in our Telegram group, which, if you guys don't know about it, the Telegram group is called Multidimensional Human. So you just search for that group and ask to join if you want to join in these conversations. We have a pretty small active community in this group. And it's really nice because we are so solidly on the same page, which is great. There's no trolls. There's no, you know what I mean? People, it's like we can agree to disagree, and we totally love and respect each other because we get things on a whole nother level, right? And and everybody there really treasures that kind of connection with other humans. So, so there's conversations that develop in that group, Multidimensional Human, on Telegram. And there's also a secondary place that conversations develop, and that's also in our Facebook group, and that's the Rise of the Multidimensional Human, much more of a mouthful. But I'm really starting to I'm definitely not in favor of engaging Facebook I do as little as possible just because, there's a lot of ethical reasons. There's a lot of things happening that I feel really offended by. And it's like my participation on that platform means I'm supporting something that I find offensive, So that's a delicate balance there. Anyway, so that's another place that conversations can come up in. But this one is one around forgiveness and the forgiveness practice. If you guys haven't seen the video that I posted, it was posted in the Rise group on Facebook and in the Telegram group, where I talked about a key, I was giving a key tip for those of you who have difficulty recalling dream time. Okay, a key tip. Now we all know the usual things, at least I assume we know the usual things, which is, when you go to bed, set your intention. Also, when you go to bed, remind yourself, tell yourself, or ask for assistance in remembering your dreams, the standard stuff, right? So, but what I wanted to share in that video was beyond the standard stuff. Like, say you are doing all those things and you're still not remembering your dreams, right? You're still not able to recall much of what's happening in your dream time. Now, of course, there's lots of factors involved in that, but that particular video, I was stressing the significance of when we have life force energy pent up inside of our bodies due to different interactions that we've had in this particular lifetime. And I talked about the art of recapitulation. Now, usually when I talk about recapitulation, I talk about it in reference to the dying process, a death rite, so to speak, where you can help liberate one from regrets and energies that are pent up in their bodies, pent up in their tissues that they don't even know that are there through the act of recapitulation. So recapitulation is just, recalling details of events of your life with somebody. Okay. Now, there's a way to do it where you're able to move energy, and then there's a way to do it versus when you're just telling a story, so you can let yourself be heard. Okay, so there are some nuances in that. And in the video, I encourage people to do a recapitulation process with themselves and pick whatever theme that seems to be going through their lives, because what this does is if we have unresolved issues and different relationships in our lives, that's energy that is bound in our bodies. That's energy that's bound in our subconscious. That is stuck energy. And not only is that energy stuck, but it also takes energy on a subconscious level to hold it in place. So it becomes an energy drain, okay, and it becomes a burden. And that kind of energy drain absolutely impacts the amount of quantum we can have charged up in our bodies, in our physical bodies. Okay. So in the past, I also talked about the importance of ancestral healing, ancestral clearing, and the use of a forgiveness practice. Okay. And we do something called a multidimensional forgiveness practice. And that is where we are connecting with our lineages, but then we're also calling things forward. So we're able to address things on the Akashic level. And that is a really potent practice. Recapitulation is a little bit different than that, because you are putting your awareness on specific thoughts and feelings that you haven't visited in a very long time. And through the act of doing that, it starts to move the energy. The energy starts to move through you. And it's really powerful if you could do this with a space holder. Okay, so this is me recapping that video. And there was a conversation that developed from that message. Let me pause here, though, and say hi to the dear starshines that are joining the conversation. Hello, dear sister Felicia. Good to see you. And hello, Georgette. So good to see you, darling, from Australia. And Carol, Minnesota. Hello, hello, hello. And Darren. And then Darren says, I can't tell AM in the live feed posting to see. You are in the live feed. I'm not sure why you can't see the postings. Your name is there, so that means you're logged in. Yeah, I'm not really sure how YouTube works, but you can tell that I can see your message. So, so no, you're visible, and I think other people can see you too. All right, so let's get back. So a few people chimed in about in that video about, it's really good timing, and it really was, something really spot on that they needed to hear to help them go take their releasing their liberation of personal energy to a whole nother level, right? So the more energy that we can allow to flow through us, the more levity we have, and the more life force energy we have to translate our dreams from the abstract into the linear. The more energy we have to transfer deep spiritual understanding that happens in our dream time to our conscious mind. It takes energy. It takes life force to be able to do that. So if you are one that suffers from low energy, it's likely that your dream recall, your dream connection is going to be impacted. And this becomes relevant, especially when we are tracking into dreams and we're going much deeper into cultivating the ability to focus our dream awareness at will. Okay. Now, this is a work in progress. So there's lots of people in different places of the spectrum. But ultimately, where you want to get to, where you are fully capable of dreaming your world into being, is when you can be in dream time when you're awake or when you're asleep. Okay. And what I mean by that is that your waking 3D world is the same as your dream world. Once that merging happens, and it takes time, but once that merging happens, now all of a sudden you're able to quite literally instantaneously manifest things that are important for you in your everyday world. So it could be, the job that you're looking for. It could be the love of your life that you're looking for. It could be the house, the homestead. It could be, the perfect animal companion. It could be a best friend. It could be any of those things. Now, the rub is that it can't be an ego driver want, right? Because the ego driver, as you guys know, is not often in alignment with the expression of our true self, our essence. A lot of times our ego driver, actually all the time, our ego driver is about control and safety, which our essence is not, because our ego driver experienced a death, but our soul doesn't. our divine essence doesn't experience death. So therefore it doesn't have that kind of fear going on, right? So it doesn't have that as part of its expression. So we're in this world, in this physical world, and one of the things that's necessary in this physical world is to figure out how to stay alive, right? Because there's a lot of pitfalls. You can, there's car accidents, there's being in bad parts of town at the wrong space, wrong time. I mean, there's so many pitfalls of what could be happening in the human experience that you actually have to have an ego driver on some level to help you navigate, to help you negotiate the different pitfalls of the 3D realm. Okay, so the big thing, that the big vehicle for the ego driver is gauging fear, engaging safety. Okay, so when our ego driver is in harmony with the expression of our essence, we become really powerful people. Pretty much anything you decide you really want, because you actually really want it on all these levels of who you are, it happens almost effortlessly. I say almost because there are times when we have a very ambitious wanting on a soul level, and it requires a team. It requires, constant envisioning. You know what I mean? It requires navigating and weaving the energies of our 4D field around us in order to create whatever that vision is, right? But in general, when we are all aligned within ourselves, when our ego driver is in alignment with our radiance, when we want something, it happens absolutely. And what happens when we have ideas and thoughts that are purely just ego driver and not the truth inside of the deeper aspects of our inner knowing, then that's where we want things that don't happen. We want stuff, and no matter what we do, we can't make it happen. So there's a lot of spiritual folks that, very sad, very unfortunate. There's a lot of spiritual folks that experience lack and poverty, right? And that's because, and this is in my opinion, of course, so, take it with what it's worth for you, what resonates or not, is that they're not completely congruent in what it is that they say they want. They think they want something because of an idea, because of a teaching or something like this, but their body, their spirit actually wants something else. Or maybe something else has to happen first before one can be completely congruent in the same direction, right? This is just my experience from tracking people and clearing energies and watching people unwind their intuitive blind spots and come online inside themselves. There are part of that awakening process is what happens is that you wake up to the lies you've been telling yourself your whole life or half your life or whatever, and people, the idea, if you're remotely honest with yourself, you can realize that, okay, yeah, I might lie to myself and I buy my own lies sometimes. You might realize that, but the actual moment that someone catches that and says something to you, that's a very difficult moment because your ego driver really wants to react. Okay. So it's really helpful to have a community of people around you that love you and who have a commitment to truth, being honest with you, and you are have a high value of being honest with them, and they have a very high value of them being they want to be honest with you. That is a bedrock of a solid community, is the commitment to truth and honesty with each other, because you can have a community of people to help you catch yourself when you're believing your own lies, right? Or help catch yourself when you're being incongruent with something that you're expressing or saying that you want, that sort of thing. The problem arises, and this is really a big problem in spiritual community, is that people get these ideas that have a resonance with them, and then they start making things wrong that don't fit those ideas. And that is the kiss of death, in my opinion. Because when we're tracking energy, when you're tracking dreamtime, you can't make anything wrong. If anything is made wrong, right, then you are quite literally saying no to a data set. You're quite literally saying no to an energy that your own higher level is bringing you to be aware of. Okay. And this is a really a big deal, because what happened in this conversation, I know I had to say all this in order to get to this conversation. See, this is how, these are high level conversations that people are having in these groups, because these, we're awake. On major levels, we're awake. So we're sharing at the level that we have our true understanding. We're not trying to sugarcoat and teach each other or anything like that. We're just sharing our experiences at the level that we see them. So that's what makes this particular Telegram group really great. Anyway, so the conversation was about forgiveness, right? So I did that video about the recapitulation and how that frees up life force energy. And then a dear sister Starshine chimed in about her doing the multidimensional forgiveness practice and how much it has helped her. And that in the doing the forgiveness practice, the way we do it in the academy, actually got her in touch with energies that were stuck around her heart. This is in regards to some family members. And so, and this is so she's been doing the forgiveness practice for a while. And this practice kind of evolves. The more you do it, the more evolved it gets. So it is a way to quantum untangle things, but also it's a way to discover new things, like to discover things that you didn't know about yourself, or discover things you didn't know about your connection with somebody else, or to discover feelings that you never knew that were there, right? So when you're able to do that, that is the trademark of a person cultivating superb tracking skills, because they are able to, with their awareness, be in the unknown. Okay. And when you're in the unknown, you're not trying to qualify anything to match something that you already know about or already have an idea about. You are purely there, touching and feeling the unknown in whatever way it's presenting itself. So there's a deep presence that's happening with that. So she shared about, that she discovered some things in her heart, and that was really helpful. And that another dear brother Starshine, also very evolved, was sharing his awakening that he had around the forgiveness practice. So he started off with forgiveness practice, and then he had a dawning. And this is the big piece I want to talk about. because then he had a dawning in that practice, and he recognized that all of a sudden that there's nothing for him to forgive. There's nothing for him left to forgive of himself or with other people. And the dawning was a part of him. And when I hear him tell the story, it was a part of him waking up to who he is on a whole nother level, like in another kind of nesting doll level. Likely it's, waking up beyond the galactic mind. You'll have dawnings like that. And that is awesome, because when you have dawnings like that, the patterns that once were a challenge to you in human interactions, all of a sudden you just see them very differently, and those same patterns are no longer as challenging as they used to be. Okay. So, but this is the rub. The rub is that someone can read that experience and say, yes, this is true. There is nothing to forgive, and la 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 la. But without that actually being a dawning, as in a wisdom you can know but not be told, as soon as it's something that you see what I mean, when you're in relationship to that information and that resonance as the idea, but it's not embodied, then what happens is that people will start making things wrong, data sets wrong, or ideas wrong, because of this other idea that they had a feeling that was the truth. Okay. Hopefully I'm sharing that. All right. I'll give an example. Okay. Because and I reckon, and he was not making the point that I'm making about this. His comment was completely all about the dawning and how liberated he became when he had this dawning, and that's beautiful. That's great. That's an indication of some amazing work is going on, right? Right. So, but what I heard in between the lines is that what a lot of people do is that people make things wrong that are considered ego driver. And this is why I had to preface all this stuff with the ego driver stuff, is because our ego driver is not the enemy. Okay. Our ego driver was just taught wrong. Our ego driver is just an ignorant child that wasn't taught correctly. Okay. We were trained and conditioned to have a bass-ackwards ego driver where all of the, lesser qualities of humanity were put as a priority versus the deeper spiritual beauty and truth of humanity having a high priority. You see what I mean? So our society rewards materialism. Our society rewards, all kinds of behavior that is absolutely backwards and offensive to the human spirit and the soul, right? So that's a product of being trained. That's a product of being conditioned. So our ego driver isn't the enemy. It just needs to be retrained. And the thing about that is that if you go into a situation with an idea being the truth, and maybe there's some energy that needs to get unwound or that needs to get your attention so it can move, but it's all stuff that you associate with ego driver, and that information tries to come, or the feeling tries to come forward, and you instantly are like, oh my gosh, no, that's just my ego driver, and then you pay no more mind to it, then that energy never gets acknowledged and the energy never gets to be moved. Okay. So it's important that we don't cut the ego driver out and make it the enemy of our practice. We need to let it to be inclusive part of our practice. We need to include that, that snotty spoiled child, and help her get retrained, help her get reconditioned. So it can become in harmony with the true radiance of who we are, versus becoming an incongruent part of ourselves, where our ego driver is at battle with our spirit, and our spirit is at battle with our ego driver. That's a recipe for disaster. Okay, especially as a homemaker. If you're a monk living up in the mountains at 14,000 feet and you don't see humans and you're completely in a whole nother frequency zone, I can see being able to cut the ego driver out, because it really has no place. There's no need. But when you're a homemaker or you're a person that's living in society, you have to have an ego driver, and it's best for for you and those around you, for you to be the benefit of humanity, is that you make friends and bring harmony between your spirit and your ego driver, because that harmony here translates to this, and you become one who makes beauty. You become one who brings peace. You become one who brings tranquility, clarity, support. Okay, you become the breath of fresh air for people. Okay, that's because you're harmonic inside. There's no part of you that's the enemy. There's no part of you made the enemy. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The way I'm building that. Let me go back and say hello. We have some comments here. Yep, Darren, you made it. All right. Okay, Darren says, I just want to. I think there's a typo in there, darling. I think it says, I just wanted to thank you, but there's a typo saying no, thank you. unless it's contrary, then, okay. All right. So, your sister Felicia says, just an adjustment of wording. Using the word want is a trap, a hook to not having. A want is never fulfilled. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yes. I have a dear friend that breaks down the etymology in a similar way. Yeah. Do you have a better word that addresses the fulfillment of a desired creation? Yeah, I guess we have to invent that word. I know, I understand what you're saying. And this is why, and actually this is what makes the chats pretty unique, because I understand there's massive limitations to the words, and a lot of these words are spells. It's like they mean the opposite of what they think they mean, and a lot of words that we use without even realizing them are anchoring and touching things that are anchored in, that are the exact opposite of what we think they are. Okay, so there's a whole practice here on using words appropriately, like words in their pure form. I get that, so all right, I appreciate that as being a truth. I appreciate that part of the reality, because I'm maybe not such a great. Well, some people think I'm a good wordsmith, but I'm not. I don't put. How do I say this? What's more potent for me, and those of you who ever been with me in person and have been talking to me in person or in an in-person presentation that I'm doing, is that I'm transmitting these understandings on an energetic level. The words are just mind candy. The actual energy of the understanding that I'm conveying is transmitted. And it's transmitted here, but it's also transmitted when we're in person. So I don't put as much effort into narrowing down the perfect words that, you know what I mean, that don't have those opposite connotations in our subconscious, because the transmission that I'm admitting really is what people digest and is what actually plants these seeds and ideas that have an impact. I'm sure, the mind candy can be so too, but in general, that's where my focus is. That's where my energy is. So if there's somebody out there, darling, listening to this that has a alternate idea or an alternate word to use about other than want, put it in the chat so we can all touch that, so we can all, see how that fits. All right, just Sister Felicia says, how about what I will have? Yeah, what's off about that for me is that it's in the future tense and there's only right now. So that kind of feels like a leaning out. But like I said, I'm not the authority on that. Because for me, it's not as high in the priority list. Let's see what some of the other starshines listening to this might have to offer as an idea. All right. And then Felicia also goes on to say that forgiveness is so mysterious. I have actually forgiven without knowing what actually happened. What a huge moment. Yes. So that starts happening a lot, especially in dreamland, in dreamtime, but also tracking energies and unraveling energies. Because what will happen is that the understanding on a on a whole nother, on an understanding beyond ego driver level, like let's say on a soul level, there's an understanding that peace needs to be made. And in that understanding and in your intent of tracking through the acknowledgement of something, and you may not have the whole picture acknowledged, but the spirit does, and therefore it brings the compassion, it brings the forgiveness forward, and that starts unraveling things on a quantum level. Those are beautiful moments, because that's not the ego driver doing that. It's not the ego driver doing it. It's your spirit doing it. You're just watching it happen. And that's big magic right there, in my opinion. When you can just watch your spirit at work, it's amazing. That means you're also ready. You're also your ego driver has been conditioned enough where you can be in the unknown and be in a spirit of excitement or in the spirit of discovery while you're in the unknown. All right. There's an alternative word here about the whole I want thing. Says I have. Okay, well, I have isn't the truth, because if you don't have it, you don't have it yet. Yeah. Anyway, I'm still saying I don't know if I'm the best person to toss this around. If oh man, if Sheen was here, she would totally be able to chime in on this, because she's the friend I was talking about that has a lot of deep knowledge into the meaning of words behind the meanings that is commonly known. I like desire. Want something, like, yeah, I want that. Yeah, for me, I want that works. And the reason why it works is because really there's not very many things that I want. I'm not a person that is, ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. That's not at all how I be. That's not how I operate. I experience things, and sure, I like things, and I might have preferences in one direction or the other, but very rarely have I ever had that feeling of, ooh, I want that. Now, and I say feeling because the words I'm using is I'm saying to describe a feeling I have when about something. And it's funny, I was just thinking about this earlier. So when earlier on in our marriage, I'm been married to the same person for 24 years. Early on in our marriage, we're house hunting, and what happened was that I really wasn't thrilled about any of the houses. There was one house that I loved, and I knew I wanted that house. I had that feeling of, I want that house. My husband didn't like the house, however. And it was an old school house with like brick walls that were 18 inches thick, and it was very, very old. It was like 150 years old, and it was on this field property, and and it was on a decent road, and I just had so many pluses to it. There's something in my heart that wanted to live in that house, and my husband didn't like the house, so we made a list. So we were house hunting, and there wasn't a lot that we liked, and we made a list, and that house made it on the list, but it was like the last one on the list. Okay. Oh, Lisa's chiming in. She's saying, I'm manifesting, perhaps. How's that fit, Felicia? Uh-huh. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Good to see you, sweetie. Thank you for being here. So it made it to the bottom of the list, that house that I really wanted, and there's these other two houses that were above that, and wouldn't you know it, and this has always been a thing that's worked out for me, because this is why I don't want very much. I rarely am in a space of, oh, I want that, right? So this was one of those rare occasions where I was like, I want that house. And when you know it, that we bid on the first house, we start to do the deal falls apart. We bid on the next house, we start to do the deal completely falls apart. And then it came that we had to bid on this third house, because we already wrote up the offer, and we already gave instructions to our real estate agent, the order to submit these offers, because there was some timing that was really sensitive. So we just made sure that he had all the documents that he needed in order to take action in the moment that he needed to take it. And wouldn't you know it, voila, we end up in that house. And, you know, a small house. It was, you know, like 1,000 square feet, maybe, well, maybe more than that, but not much more than that. And it had a old stone basement, dirt and stone basement that was like dug out after the house, after the schoolhouse was built. And, you know, it was just really funky in a lot of ways. And it was living though. I felt there was life in that house, and I really appreciated that. Anyway, so that, and when I was, the most important thing, when I was living in that house with my kids, I gave birth to my second child um, just before we moved into that house, and I was home. I was staying at home mom at the time. I would meditate. The kids would, like clockwork, take naps, you know, in the early afternoon, and like clockwork, I would be out in the backyard meditating in this giant, humongous 150-year-old lilac bush that created kind of like a fort, a canopy, you know. So I would meditate in this bush, in the center of this bush, where there was like a path to walk through and everything. That's how big it was. And I've had some of the most profound spiritual awakening experiences sitting in that lilac bush and meditating with the land. And there's also a really old, a couple 100-year-old maple tree nearby. And we lived there for several years, and year after year, my connection with the land got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I had massive spiritual awakenings while at that house during those meditating experiences in the afternoon. So, so it was meant to be. So what was I really wanting? Was it that I wanted that house, or was my spirit was calling me to be at the right place at the right time for my awakenings to happen? You see? So this is where ego, driver, and spirit, when they're aligned, that's where the magic happens. It's amazing. You think you're going one direction or you're doing one thing, but really there's a whole nother thing unfolding here. All right. I'm going to keep chiming in here. All right. So, yeah, Lisa Marie put in her thing. She suggested using the word manifesting instead of want. All right. And then her sister Felicia says, Barbara Messiniak said, bless the tyrants who came here this time, not to be loved and admired this lifetime, as to gift in some way that would not be alchemized any other way. Okay. I think I get what you're saying. I might be misreading it, or there's some typo in there. You know, I have to read things a few times. I'm super dyslexic, guys. So just so you know, that's why I read things slowly, and I have to do it out loud because that helps my brain not flip things around. So yeah, so there's people that aren't here for love, but that's, I feel like that's kind of, it's not really star seeds, you know, that's not really way showers. Those are the folks that are choosing to hold polarities for whatever reasons. Sometimes they hold polarities because that's the agreement. Sometimes they hold polarities for others because the agreement is to do it, you know, in service. I mean, there's lots of reasons why one would do that. And sometimes, you know, the ego driver is the tyrant until it wakes up and is not. You know, I've known people like that. We call them shit kickers. Those are people who, you know, oh, look at that. Oh, they like to point out fault in every way. If anything, they can't stop pointing out fault. So I call those shit kickers, you know, and there's people in spiritual circles that are like that too. And they're only like that until they're not. I was thinking, hey, thank you, getting me onto the next point. Why I'm talking about things are so until they're not. It's because there's lots of reasons, but one of the big reasons is these nesting dolls that have been shaping our reality for so long are changing. And these structures that have been existing in our subconscious for eons, let's say all through a soul's journey, are all of a sudden not there. So our subconscious structures are creating our experience in this reality. It's, you know, we manifest things 10% with our conscious mind, 90% with our subconscious mind. So all this stuff playing out in humanity is our structures that need resolved, right? Our structures that are in existence of the collective of the human mind, and we're working them out. We got to work them out. And that's why it's in order for us to work them out, it has to be in front of us, right? All right, Carol chimed in with more alternative words, Felicia. Oh, good. Thank you, guys. I'm so glad you guys are chiming in with this. All right, Carol says there's desire, there's I fancy, there's I need, I wish, I crave. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Crave might be, yeah, I don't know. What feels good? All right, dear sister Tammy says, great house story. Oh, thank you. Thank you, darling. Yeah, that was a really cool house. All right, and then Felicia says, oh my gosh, you manifested a deep connection with the earth through living in this location. Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. But it wasn't in my head. My mind did not know that. My ego driver did not know that. All I knew is that I had this feeling, I want that house. That was the feeling I had, you know. And fast forward, more than a decade goes by before I have before I have a feeling like that again, of that I want something. In this case, the feeling was I'm doing an expedition in Peru, which I absolutely couldn't afford in any way, shape, or form, but somehow I knew I wanted it. I knew I wanted that, and it was like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to worry about how to pay for it later. And I did, and it all worked out. I ended up having an unexpected huge chunk of change drop in my lap from the death of a family member that I had no idea that even had me in their will. It's like I had no idea that money was coming, but it came, and then I was able to pay for that trip after the fact. So that inner compass, this is why I talk about the inner compass so much, because when you fine tune that inner compass, and you can feel the difference between the voice of your ego driver and the voice of your spirit. Now you're cooking with grease, right? Because now that inner compass can speak to you, and you can understand. You have clarity. Okay. And it really, really helps to be willing to be in that unknown space. Because as soon as we go into ideas, and those ideas start defining meanings, from data sets, we're in the construct. We're no longer in this place of discovering something new, going into the unknown and seeing what else is possible. That's that yes and space, right? Okay, so things are so until they're not. And this is a liberating process. Um, and that's because there's, a lot of you guys have been dedicated, probably most of your life, to some sort of spiritual practice or teachings. I'm willing to bet that you guys have been dedicated at least a decade, if not multiple decades, right? And each time you either read a book or got a teaching that resonated with you, you rocked that teaching. You absolutely rocked that teaching. It opened you up. It served you in some way. You became more liberated, more free, whatever the payoff was. You had it, and you were loving it, and that was that. As we grow, and as we go more into this new paradigm, we are going deeper into a place of undiscovered territory, unknown territory, which means all those past truths and teachings that we embraced 100%, loved them 100%, all those are going to be coming up to question. Okay. And in the past, what would happen is that people would have a crisis of faith. And I'm saying this before you reach that crisis of faith, to let you know that there's no need for that crisis. If you can feel into the reality right now that things are so until they're not. And when they're not, when that all of a sudden not shows up, that's okay. You see what I mean? That's okay. It's not that you were wrong before. It's not that you were, doing anything bad or, on the wrong track or anything like that. You were exactly where you needed to be to grow in the way that you grew. And now we get to this next place of, okay, you're opening up to a whole nother level, a whole nother nesting doll of who you are. And that nesting doll, the rules that apply don't apply in this new nesting doll of awakening. Like dear brother Starshine sharing that story about that dawning that he had. It's like the forgiveness practice was a tool that worked for him. It worked for him so much, he woke up to a whole nother level and then transcended the need for the tool. You see? Okay. Dear Sister Tammy says, very dedicated for a couple of decades. My dedication is getting stronger as I age. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, for me too. I mean, that's because it's in our being, darling. It's in our heart. There's no putting it down. It's like it's ingrained into the very fabric of who we are. And this is the great thing about star seeds, is that it doesn't matter where you start. The fact is that you've started. Now that you've started, you're not ever going to stop. It's not like, oh, I'm going to give this 10 years, or oh, I'm going to give this 3 months to see if I get the transformation I wanted. No, 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 no. It's like, whew, this shit's working for me and I'm going to rock it. And you are like all about it completely. That's how we roll. And our dear sister Felisa says, could you pronounce, can you pronounce my name this way? Felisa, Felice. Oh, Felice. Phyllis, Phyllis, like a snake hissing, followed by an E-ah. Felicia. Is that right? Felicia? Felicia. Okay. Let me know if that last one's right. Hello, dear Sister Jackie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so things are until they're not. Okay, I want to get to this last part, and this is really interesting stuff. Really, really interesting stuff. So, have you guys heard? Oh, that wasn't right. Okay. Phyllis, Phyllis, yeah. I'm sorry, darling. I'm not trying to mutilate your name. You know what would be cool? If you can record it. You know how Facebook Messenger allows you to do voice recordings? If you can record it and then send it to me, I will and I'll listen to it, and I promise I'll look at it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, darling. Thank you for your patience with me. Okay. Yeah. So I want to get to this other thing because this is fascinating. So you know how I talk about mainstream media, legacy media, whatever you want to call it, and alternative news, that it's all framing you up. It's all framing up to influence a point of view. None of it is actually in the spirit of giving you the truth. Okay. Yes, there might be some people who have the desire to report the truth as they know it, and that's a thing, but you get quickly categorized: black hat, white hat. You get categorized in that industry, in that business. That's just how it goes. So, and I mean, I have alternative news that I like the COVID and coffee guy. He's an ultra conservative attorney. So I know everything he's saying is with a conservative slant. Right. So I understand. But what's happened with him is that I've been able to research every single story that he talked about, and everything he said was what he was claiming as truth, not opinion, was real. And it happened so many times. I was like, okay, this guy, okay, I can pretty much trust that he's going to be, stating the facts as facts, and he's pretty clear about when it's his opinion, because it's so hilarious the way he expresses his sarcasm. And he's also teaching me sarcasm, which is cool, because I've always been really kind of dumb to that. Anyway, there's another woman called Kim Iverson on YouTube. She's pretty interesting, but she's slanted too. Anyway, the reason why I'm saying this is because everybody is abuzz about this raid on Mar-a-Lago. You guys know about this? And I'm not trying to talk about news in the normal sense. What I want to say about that is that we know intuitively that there is a battle for power going on in this country, but also on the planet, right? There's this massive power grab going on. And the news, slanted and legacy, none of it's really giving us the truth. All of it is trying to frame up our perception, or frame up give us information so we have a particular slant or bias. That's the whole point of the media, is to give us information in such a way it will force us to have a slant or a bias towards things. But when you take facts, just facts, and not go into deeper details of the story, and just see the plain truth that's in front of us, this is where you start to realize that idea that we have about this power struggle going on is absolutely real. Okay. And that's shown in this whole raid thing with the Trump thing. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Trumper. I think that he's part of the game too. He's part of setting up the narrative. He's teeing up the ball, in my opinion. He's been teeing up the ball for people to hit it, right? For the powers that be that want to control things to hit it. He's definitely part of the game. But I think there's been a shift, and you guys let me know if you feel this too. If I believe there's been a shift to the point where he got on the wrong side of someone really, really powerful. And the reason why this is a good thing is because Trump is a narcissist, right? You guys watch him. You can listen to him talk, right? Total narcissist. Everything's bigger than like, oh yeah, I do the best that there is. And, oh yeah, it's of course I had something to do with it. It was amazing, you know? And the one thing I know about really powerful narcissists who are powerful and have money is that they're like bulldogs in a fight. They love to fight. And it's not just the fight. They are in it all the way. I mean, they will go down, crash, burn everything in order to win. That's how much they love the fight. Okay. So the reason why this is a good thing is because now the enemy of an enemy can now potentially be our friend. And what I mean by that is that this power struggle that's going on, that quite literally targets us everyday middle class people, right? Personal liberties, all that kind of stuff. The enemy of that has now created an enemy. You see what I'm saying? Another enemy. So it's not that we're all on board with Trump, but there's an opportunity here for us, the little people. I say little people just because, whatever, the high powered versus the everyday folks. All of a sudden, there is a really powerful force that is going to go down and fight this other force that's trying to take over. To me, I find that interesting. I don't know about you. I mean, I was kind of like, I was really surprised by the whole thing. And at first I just thought it was another game. But now that I'm seeing the mess that's happening, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Someone really, really does not like him. He really made someone mad. And we're going to watch a battle of epic proportions. We're going to watch a battle of the Titans, guys. And I don't know about you, but I'm fine with that because that's part of this whole crumbling of the structures. This is going to wake up more people than ever before. Now, people were waking up with COVID shenanigans, and people are waking up with the mandate shenanigans. But this is a whole nother level because now this isn't about health. It's not about the medical because some people think that a lot of people think that people in alternative medicine are charlatans, right? So there's been a demonization of that for a very long time. But now that already pre-set up game isn't a part of what this game is. This is a whole nother arena going down right now. So it's fascinating. I think there's huge potential in this for we the people to step up and take over. And what I mean by that is that there could be an opportunity here to take politicians completely out of the legislative process, as in Congress and the Senate. I mean, we don't have to completely reinvent the wheel, but we can take the politicians out of politics. And that means everyday humans, you, me, star seeds, teachers, health coaches, I mean, whatever, this huge spectrum of normal everyday humans may have that opportunity to step up and take over those processes, which means I would hope it's common sense. We would want to do things for the betterment of humanity, not to the betterment of those who lines our pockets, because we're not conditioned into that world. We're in an everyday human world, everyday person that does their laundry and washes their dishes. Not to say that, there's anything wrong with wealth. There's not. I know, actually, I know many very, very wealthy people that are awesome, really great people, really good quality human beings. But they're in a different position than, like we are, you and I are, right? We're in these positions where we may not have, like, $5 billion in the bank, but we have the universal bank account. And oh, look at that. It totally went there. It totally just blacked out. Okay. Okay, so let me check in with a couple comments, and then I'll start wrapping it up. All right. So, dear sister, Felicia, yes. Okay, so you say yes. Thank you. All right. The game of duality keeps us othering as a natural way to perceive. Absolutely, absolutely. And all right, as a star seed, we are challenged on creating ways to step out of the duality game, to step out of the polarity game. And especially when we're working in dreamtime and tracking and unwinding things inside of ourselves, we're constantly at that crossroads, making a different choice. And many of us have figured out that if you are a champion for the dark or the light, you're in a duality situation, right? So many of us have woken up to creating a door number 3. So where it's not championing the light or the dark, it's actually championing the unity, the congruency of how they are serving together. Okay. And the nuances of this shifts and change the more, depending on the actual choice that is really specific to you. Right. So this is true. But that's not to say that the rest of humanity is not in duality. And that's not to say that we're not faced with witnessing the struggle. Right. And politics is it's such a circus, and it's so highly charged up and full of lies, and the waters are so muddy, and it has nothing to do with truth. And no, we don't want to involved with that crap. No, we don't. But it's still something unfolding in front of us. It's still something for us to witness. And as a witness, as a space holder, this is where we come in. As a space holder for those things, we can influence the collective interaction by the way in which we hold the space. You see what I mean? So that's why I want to share this thing with Trump, because I'm holding a very different space than what the collective is about it. And I feel like there's a lot of us here that also are interested in that way, if that makes sense. All right. Dear sister Lisa, I hope that's helpful. I hope that's helpful to what you're saying. All right. I love boundaries and living in flow, allowing timing, authenticity, synchronicity to unfold. As of late, I'm experiencing disequilibrium of knowing where family is where family is framing up my experience as narcissistic. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. People throw around the word narcissist because it's a common term, right? Um, when people are acting out of fear, they're narcissistic. They're being narcissistic. When people don't, when people are passing judgment, they will just throw out that word narcissistic without actually realizing what it truly means. You see what I'm saying? So I've had people call me a narcissist. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've had someone kind of close to me all of a sudden get really upset with me and told me I was a narcissist. And I'm like, well, what did I do exactly? And they couldn't tell me what I did. They couldn't tell me anything that I did. All they could tell me is the judgments that they made about what they think I did. So the difference is, and here's the thing, narcissists don't self-reflect. They don't take the inner journey. They don't inner reference. They outer reference always. And that's why narcissists are so toxic, because they're like vampires. They have to get that validation. or else they're not happy. So people throwing that word around to get a rise or to hurt you maybe or whatever, do your best just to not buy into the label. And maybe if it's in the scenario, you can start asking questions on, what's the behavior they think is like that and why, and then open up a conversation. Because if you're able to open up a conversation, you may be able to ask the right questions. Maybe, it all depends on where the openings are. By opening up a conversation, you're creating a potential opportunity where you can ask the right question for a new realization to occur for you or that other person, if that makes sense. I feel their need for ego driving control. Yes, it's a lot of people are in that boat because of fear, right? Self-reflection is huge. So if you ever wondered if you're a narcissist, and I think probably everybody here at one point in time has probably wondered if they might be a narcissist because of people saying that, right? And you can eliminate it by simply recognizing that you are self-reflecting, you are self-adjusting, right? and, and by the mere act of doing that, you're not a narcissist. By you self-reflecting and facilitating your own inner transformation, that's the opposite of what a narcissist is capable of. So you're not a narcissist. I hope that's helpful. I hope that's helpful. All right. I'm feeling okay. I wouldn't mind being a new paradigm politician. Ha ha ha. Yeah, Bev, you'd be good at it. Yeah, I bet you would be very good at it. Because there's some people who are cut out for that kind of thing and some people who aren't. But I think you'd be good at it because you have like a focus to you and you don't like blurt your energy out everywhere. It's like you wait and you listen and you evaluate and then you chime in. That's that kind of character is perfect for, I think, the new paradigm political game. That makes sense. All right. Oh, here we go. All right. Got comments back to say thanks for this uplifting news. Okay, wonderful. All right. I find that interesting, the battle. This will work in our favor. Yeah. Well, I feel like it's work. I think that it creates an opening that could potentially be in our favor if we seize the moment. All right, dear sister Tammy says, thank you, Christina, and thank you for your insights, your thoughts about the Trump thing. I sense there was something else there. Very interested in this. Yeah. Well, believe me, the media is going to be sharing it, so it's going to be out there. All right, dear sister Felicia. I'm doing it. The video talks about the illusion of the Trump drama. Okay. Cool. Dear Cosmic One. Hey, dear Sherry Lynn, good to see you. I think the snacks are eating themselves in politics and media. Oh, the snakes. Sorry, I'm thinking snacks like, getting the popcorn. They do. They eat their own, don't they? Yeah, okay. And Felicia totally is agreeing with you on that one. Okay. All right, guys, that takes us to the end of our time together. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I really enjoyed you guys chiming in and talking with you about this. We'll see what unfolds, what adventures are going to be unfolding for us in the coming weeks. I am traveling, so I'll be in a new location by next week, and I'll be coming to you live from there. In the meantime, you guys, sweet dreams. Make it a great day. We'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye-bye.